This is the Clark Connection Podcast, your weekly dose of inspiration and power. We'll dive deep into the stories and strategies that ignite personal growth and entrepreneurial fire. Join us as we empower you to take control, level up your leadership, and build the life you deserve. Get ready to rise, to thrive, and to finally become the leader of your own destiny. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Clark Connection Podcast, the show where leadership meets life and growth meets grit. Today, it's time for our next episode, our next edition of the Ask the Coach series. I'm Caitlin Michelet, and I've got a stack of questions for my listeners ready to go.
And I'm Aaron Clark, aka The Coach. This is the part of the show where I don't know what's coming. Caitlin's got the questions, and I've got the answers. Hopefully.
We'll see about that. Our listeners asked about leadership, personal growth, entrepreneurship, and even how that can affect your personal life. So they did not hold back.
Perfect. That means we're going to get real conversations, real answers, and maybe even a little bit of tough love. Because if you're going to ask the coach, you better be ready for the truth.
Learn that one the hard way.
Yes, it is. But I do want to give, before we get into it, got to take a second, shout out our amazing sponsor. And today's episode of the Clark Connection Podcast is brought to you by our premier sponsor, Vicki with Hubbard Flooring Studio. Leadership always starts with a strong foundation, and so does your home or office. Vicki and her team don't just cover floors. They help you step into excellence, one plank, one tile, or carpet at a time. And now, Vicki and the crew also offers Hunter Douglas blinds, giving you the ability to set the tone, control the light, and create the perfect environment to lead from. Visit them at their physical location on Boylan Avenue in Baton Rouge, or give them a call at 225-924-1582, or simply go browse their work on their website, hubbardflooringstudios.com. Hubbard Flooring Studio, where strong foundations and bright visions begin. And look, all that information, it's down in the bottom in the description as well. Also want to take a quick second to shout out our other amazing sponsors. So thanks to Wayne with 7K Metals, that for all silver and gold needs, just like strong leadership, building wealth takes strategy and vision. Wayne helps you craft a foundation that shines. Shout out to Bobbie with the Comfy Quest LLC. She helps you realign, recharge, and create the mental and physical space to lead your life with balance and clarity. Appreciate you, Andrew, with Automate Integrate Professional Services. He's making your business run smarter, smoother, and more efficiently, giving you the freedom to focus on what matters the most. Big thanks to Joseph with Landscape King, transforming yards into beautiful, inspiring spaces that set the stage for creativity, growth, and leadership in every season. And a special thank you to Chris and Jess with C&J Embroidery, bringing your brand to life with custom designs that leave a lasting impression wherever you lead. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate everything y'all are doing for us.
Oh my goodness, you got some awesome sponsors. And hey, if you want to stay connected with us, get resources, or even submit your own questions for our next episode of Ask the Coach, just head over to our website. It's going to be on the screen right now, or any of our socials. You can also submit your questions to Ask the Coach through our Google form. That's going to be in the description box below. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to hear and be able to answer your questions.
Yes, please make sure you submit those. And again, want to shout out our partners in sponsorship. Look, your partnership helps make these conversations possible. And if you or your business would like to be a future sponsor, we'd love to connect. Just like Caitlin was saying, reach out to us via our website, or you can catch me on my email. Because sponsorship is a great way to get your name in front of leaders entrepreneurs, and growth-minded listeners just like you. So give us a shout. Love to connect.
Awesome. I think we're ready to dive in. All right, Coach. So our first question from the viewers is, I know, drum roll. Okay, it's a good one. So our listener asks, how do you motivate an employee that has worked for you for over 20 years?
Oof. You sure this is my listeners?
No.
Man, they couldn't ask me like an easy question like, hey, what's your favorite color?
That would be
Man, how do you
nice.
motivate somebody? Oof.
Maybe next time.
They're coming at that tough. You know, that's a tough one, especially in today's age too. But think about it. I mean, I was actually literally before we got on here to start recording that they've got a new term they call people are frogging at the job. So I'm going to congratulate you, listener, whoever you are, for having somebody with you for 20
Yeah.
years. So what the frogging is that they're calling, and so any of you other guys and gals out there listening who have your own business, have other employees, if you hear them talking about frogging a job, that means they're about to jump from this job to a next one. So they're using it like leapfrog. They're just over that trying to find what they can get at the next one. And so, Ian, I would want to know, what's inspired them to stay this far. So if you've been have you been at this job for 20 years as well? I think that plays a part in it because you do know them, but I think it comes up with making sure that you keep them in their strength zone. And what I mean is keeping them doing things that are naturally going to give them energy, that are going to help them to flourish. One that, and where I'm talking about, or that really helps talk about that is if y'all have not read The Six Working Genius by Patrick Lencioni, you need to go get that, go read that, because he talks about your geniuses, your frustrations, and your competencies. And you want to keep them in that genius, so things that keep them revitalized and energized and get them going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think being motivated for anybody can be a struggle sometimes. But yeah, like being at the same job, I don't know if they're in the same position and maybe they've moved positions. But staying motivated after 20 years, there's definitely, I mean, there's got to be something that kept them there for so long.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking is if they've been there 20 years, man,
Doing something right.
that they've got some stick to it.
Yeah.
But I want to know, like, those are all things, as you said it made me think, did they move up? Are they still in the same position? If they started off as the bottom of the bottom, whatever that is in your business, are they still at the bottom of the bottom, or have they moved up? And so there's all sorts of other things they can do. One of the guests that came on the show, Lauren with Guaranteed Maid Services, she does a lot of really cool stuff that keeps her people, from that the ways that she, everybody on your birthday, you're going to get your special treat. She bakes her own, whatever your special treat is. I almost said cake because you may be like me where you would prefer like chocolate chip cookies over a cake. Or brownies over a cake. And so she does that for you, whether it's a upside down pineapple cake. I just remember that because I was one of them and I was like, ooh, bring me a slice of that. Having little competitions, figuring out what is it that gets them going. And what do you think, Caitlin? What do you think they
Yeah, I mean, competition
do
could
to
be
motivate?
a big thing, but I guess it also just depends on the person. Like, some people just are not big competitors. It's just, look, you do your thing, I'll do my thing, and, we both live in harmony. Um, but I think you're right. You're, touching on, like, just asking them, what keeps you motivated? What's kept you here for so long? Do you want more of that, or are you looking for something different in the future? I really loved one of the new people that I've brought on recently. She's really like grabbed hold of her position and been doing a great job already. And recently went around and was asking everybody what is something that helps you feel supported, is exciting to you. What's your favorite candy? What's your favorite drink? Um, and that's not part of her job description, but just making those mental notes, because people are going to need those little pick me ups at different times, whether they've been with you for 20 years or 20 minutes. Everybody needs a little motivation sometimes.
Yeah. And it makes me think of people that I know that have been in industries or like the same school, same place, that for such a long time, you do hit that plateau. And I know that I'm trying to remember who I was speaking with, and they were like, "Yeah, I've been here at the same place now, going on 30 years. I don't know, blah 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 blah." And that was 5 years ago, and they've still been there. That, but they hit kind of that lull, like, what am I doing right now? Is it time for me to retire? Do I keep pushing? Do I go get another job? Like, what do I do? And then and just kind of, hey, got out of that slump. So it could be any of those different things. But
Yeah. I think another thing that I would just throw out there is celebrating the wins. So whatever that looks like for you, in your position, and when you're placed in the company, just celebrating your wins. I know I have a lot of my students that I've worked with in the past. Thank you emails from them, or thank you cards. I've gotten a couple over the years. Success stories of where my students that I've enrolled have, graduated and gone off to work. And I print those out and put them on a bulletin board because sometimes I need them. Also, like bringing photos of things, thank you cards. Yeah, there you go. Mine are at work, but
I keep mine handy. I do have some at work, but off, and I keep a lot everywhere. But yeah, that's a
it
good
makes a
one because
big
I do occasionally
difference.
look through there.
And even just, if our listener that asks about this, it seems like they're probably in some kind of a position of authority, management, ownership, something like that. Um, I know just a quick little email, hey Aaron, you're doing a great job. Keep it up. I do believe that that can go a long way. You never really know what someone is going through in their personal life. And a lot of times they won't really open up to you fully about that kind of stuff, if you have a professional relationship. So just sending those little, pick me ups, those little notes are really nice. But then the other thing that I was going to say is just bringing photos of your family, and I've got like a couple pictures of my dog and uh, you know my family around my office. So that motivates me too. That's the reason why. That's the reason why I go in every day. Reason why I do what you do.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to find one from one of the mothers I got, and it was when I told everybody that I wasn't coming back to teaching, and it probably wasn't even 12 hours later that this mom had messaged and just thanking me for that. And it was like, all right, so I know I made an impact. But then the one that I also keep for me personally, I know everybody gives me a hard time about it, is my I'm kind of a big deal now.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, seriously, being pretty humble, which, I mean, humbleness is one of my greatest qualities. But to know the story behind it is the cool thing about it, because I had a special ed student. That was one. I loved my special ed students, and every day he would come in and he'd be like, "I see you, coach. I see you, and see you talking to them girls. I see that." And it's like, so I was asking a question. I was like, "Well, I'm kind of a big deal." And one day it showed up on my desk. So I mean, it, having those things there that to remind you.
Yeah, those wins, or those special relationships.
And even doing what kind of like we're doing back, going back, thinking back one step, that maybe go back with that employee, and man, like 20 years, where has the time gone? Do you remember back when?
Yeah. And
And do just spend a little time with them.
Yeah. You and I were even talking about just utilizing and basically asking some of my more seasoned staff members to kind of take a bigger role in training. So asking them, if you've been with me for a little while, hey, Aaron, what would you do? How would you do that? Just asking their opinions and, kind of giving them seniority, that makes you feel pretty good. But I think everybody just likes, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people like to feel like they are making a difference. So just being reminded of that.
Everybody wants to feel appreciated. Everybody wants to feel appreciated,
Yeah, absolutely. Feel appreciated.
So and that's one way to show, because like you said, that was one I always remembered with, there was one older coach, and I don't want to throw out names, but that was one that you'd always see, the head coach bring him over. I'm trying not to drop names because I know he would not want his name dropped. I'm not going to say where I was, but he would always pull him in. And I'd see the head coach and this older coach, and they would talk, and finally just asked one day, "What's up with that?" And he was like, "Now, that guy's been here for almost 40 years. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that kid. I guarantee you," he said, "before I asked him, I guarantee you he at least taught their dad, uncle, sister, aunt, somebody." And he did. He knew, all right, yeah, I'm going to go find out that's what's going on. And so he had other special little things, because even that older coach would say, "The game has passed me by. I still love being here, but I don't understand it anymore." But seeking them out, because they understand. They've been around. They've seen your business.
Yeah.
20 years.
You still had something to contribute, and it was experience.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So yeah, getting them involved. They've seen a lot. Run it by them. Run it by them.
Awesome.
Oof, great question right out the gate. And look, guys, if you want to get your question answered, you've got questions, hey, we've got answers. They make sure there is a form right below. They go click on it. It'll bring you there. Drop your question in, and we'll answer your question right here on the Clark Connection podcast.
And as you could tell, just throwing it out, also, it is anonymous. We aren't going to use your names here on the podcast. Might reach out and just thank you, for your submission privately, but not gonna out you on here.
Unless you want to, unless you're like, hey,
totally up to
make
you.
Sure you tell everybody.
But you absolutely have the opportunity to submit and remain anonymous. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay,
great
ready for question number 2?
Yeah. Well, ready or not, here
Let's
it comes.
Do it. So, next question is, what does it look like for someone who is working on their leadership? What does that look like? Oh, Lord. Okay, next question.
I mean, if you're watching, I mean, just look at me. I mean,
I actually think nobody's watching anymore. Everybody's tuned
they
off.
just went, what in the world?
Zero
He's lost
views.
it. We're done. I pull the plug. Man, another good loaded question.
Yeah.
And I've actually had the opportunity to talk and ask a lot of people. I've been getting that one a lot. So I think it's cool that one came up in this. And, you know, it really is somebody that's, they're open, they're soaking it up like a sponge. You know, it makes me think back to, you know, like you, Caitlin. If I went and found, yes, but if I went back and found, and I probably do have some older videos.
Oh, 100%.
Of Caitlin starting out.
Yes.
But to see it, it's somebody who's coming in, they're asking questions, they're wanting to know. They're, you know, next thing you know, they've got all these different books and manuscripts and binders. And, you know, I was surprised I actually don't have a book that I can grab right here on my desk. But I actually just moved it back to the shelf because I was done working on it. But I think that's what I would say. It looks like it's somebody who's watching stuff like the Clark Connection podcast. There's somebody who's going out, you know, become a big fan of Craig Rochelle, Patrick Lencioni, John Maxwell. I just blank. I mean, there's so many great people out there. One that I'm going to be bringing on soon, that new guy that I just met, I started following him on TikTok, that I've become friends with Chris Appleton, you know, and it's like that those other people that you start wanting to be around like-minded individuals. You know, you start seeing yourself going, I'm not going to do that anymore. Or I'm not going to go here. You start, even when you don't want to, you get up and you read a book. And that's one I'll sit here and I'll say it till the cows come home. The leaders are readers, you know, that leaders are learners, but they're, you know, you've got to read. If you're not reading, then you're not growing.
Yes, I think you're right. Leaders are learners, but the best way to learn is to read. Probably fastest too. Like, you can learn a lot from experience, but I don't think it's as fast or maybe as clear. You know, you got to do a lot of trial and error.
And two, with the reading, I mean, if I were to grab one of those books, now sticker price might say $25, but I promise you, I didn't buy the book for $25. Now, I went and found that a used copy. I found it that on sale or something along those lines. But that author put their words on a paper. They put their knowledge in paper for you to go back and refer to. Like I was looking at possibly going to one of the next, what is it called? The leadership conference with John Maxwell. That's like to go. It's a 3-day event, but it's like $5,000. But I've got like 30 of John's books, and I didn't pay $1,000 for all of them.
And that's a lot more information that you could get in 3 days.
So, but you're doing those things. It's you notice that it's really quite, what's the word I'm looking for? You really start to see, you won't see it right away. your friends and family will see it right away. Those you're around that you're closest to will see it right away. But you start looking at situations differently. You don't look at, man, I've got this problem. You start going, I got an opportunity to make something better of that.
Yeah. I know you and I have talked about this, but I notice that my leadership journey, my professional leadership journey started around the same time that I became a parent, became a mother as well. And I feel like the better leader that I become, the better parent I become. Now, I still struggle. Don't get me wrong. Okay. I got a 2-year-old. Okay.
We're going to have to get you in, have some more coaching sessions. And I can't believe you struggle.
I do. I really do. I mean, she's really cute and she's really smart. But yeah, the 2s, I don't like to call them terrible because they really are. They're terrific at this age. Is just fantastic. They're learning so much. But it's a challenge. So every day is a learning opportunity, to grow and develop, deeper patience and humility and, just that's something that I noticed with me as far as like what did working on my leadership look like for me. It really affected my parenting as well. So that was one aspect.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. Tim Grover doesn't call it the terrible 2s. He calls
Really?
it like something else. I was trying to quickly look it up while you were talking. But yeah, he doesn't call it the terrible 2s. He calls it the inquisitive
yeah.
2, or might be the trying 2s, because that's about the age they start trying new things.
Yeah.
And with you saying that, that goes back by, I became a better leader when I became a parent. Well, parenting is leadership.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're all leading somebody every single day.
It's also modeling. It's also modeling. Leadership is modeling. Parenting is modeling. One of the things that I'm really proud of right now is that my daughter has started, and I'm convinced that she's picked this up from me. I didn't notice that I was doing it as much as I was, but once she started repeating it, I was like, I know exactly where that came from. But she would say things like, I'll be right back, okay? Or I'm going to put on my shoes, okay? And okay? Question mark. And I do that because we have learned and we train and teach to always end in a question, to really be driving and controlling the conversation and the interaction at all times. He who asks the questions controls the conversation. So yeah, I do that all the time. I never realized that I did, like I said, until I heard my daughter doing it back to me. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to argue with that. So, that modeling comes in really strong too.
Yeah. And here's so I had another guest give me this definition of leadership. It says leadership means the ability to inspire, guide, and support others towards a shared goal while creating an environment where people feel valued and empowered. It's not about authority, but about responsibility, leading by example, listening actively, and making decisions that serve the team as well as the mission. True leadership balances vision with empathy, accountability with encouragement, and results with respect for people. At its core, leadership is about helping others succeed and grow while working together to achieve something greater than any one individual could accomplish alone.
That's what it
Um,
is.
yeah. So I mean, it's a journey for sure.
It is.
Leadership. You're
Really with no like final destination.
no. There is there is no that like my episode where I was talking with Serge. That was one Serge was talking about as we putting together the music was there is no finish line. Knowing that you're never done.
Yeah. But that's awesome because then your growth potential is unlimited.
It's unlimited.
Love that.
So,
Awesome.
Man.
I know. We're 2 for 2.
And so, guys, man, look, I want to take this time too to give another shout out to our premier sponsor, Vicki Hubbard with Hubbard Flooring Studios. Look, they're laying down those strong foundations that just like we're laying down strong foundations with leadership. So make sure hit up Vicki, hit up her crew. But phenomenal studio right there on Boylan Avenue. They're right here in the beautiful Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the capital city. They go stop by, swing by. Make sure you tell her that the coach told you to stop by. And so, all right, you said you have one more for me, Caitlin. I think that's about all I got in my tank left. One more.
Well, and you kind of started to touch on this earlier, so maybe a follow-up question to working on your leadership. So this question says that the deeper I get into my leadership journey, the more distant I feel from some of my family and friends. Is this normal?
Wow. Yeah, it is. It's quite normal. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not friends with them anymore. This doesn't mean that you're not family with them anymore. So yes, there is. It becomes normal, and it's a choice that you start to make because you see, all right, they're wanting this, but I want that over there. And so, and it's one that I'll tell anybody that getting started out, if you're wanting to go do something, then make sure that the people you're listening to have done what you're wanting to do. And a lot of times you'll see that and you'll experience it and it's really quite sad because it's the people that we feel are the closest to us, that we care about the most, that should care about us the most, that do this, where they kind of they feel like, hey, you're going out and doing something that I wish I could do. And so they feel it's their job to discourage you. And you will have to at some point separate. It's not always fun. I was a young parent before that most of my friends were having children. So at the age of 20 and 21, I've got a wife and a kid. So I'm working a full-time job. I'm finishing college. I'm not going to Fred's and Tigerland on Thursday and Friday. I've got responsibilities. And so it became hard to have and be in that relationship with a lot of my friends. Now, as they got married and started having children, they understood. It's kind of like, oh, that's why he couldn't come and hang out.
Right.
And it was never, I knew it was, they just wouldn't understand because they weren't there. So, but I also didn't expect them to understand.
Yeah. It's very hard to have close relationships with your family or your friends if they don't understand you, or especially something that is so important to you. It's different if, like, let's say, 2 friends are a Republican and a Democrat, and they have different views on politics, but they don't really talk about it. They're not huge, like, political fans. It doesn't cause a problem. But in this type of situation, like if your leadership journey is important to you and it's something that you spend a lot of time doing and thinking about and spending time on, and if they're not there, they don't get it, it's gonna be hard to connect in the same way that you have in the past.
Right. It is. And that's why I say it's not that you're not friends anymore. It's not that you're not family anymore. You may just have to separate. Um, and Tom Brady talked about that. They anything you read about Kobe or Michael Jordan, they just didn't care. They're like, "Yep, I know that you're aggravated with me," but they just didn't care about that because they knew. They said, "Hey, I'm here to win basketball games. I'm here to win a championship. So I'm going to make sure that I do whatever it takes to do that." And if it's your goal to become and develop that, not just necessarily that, how was the question? Like as a leader in your leadership. So it's probably more in your personal growth, which they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. um, but as you start to grow as a person, uh, as the snake grows, it does have to shed off that old skin. It's got to get rid of it. When you start to outgrow, I'm not much of a person for plants, but as a plant outgrows the pot that you put in, you got to pull it out and put it in a new plant and find it somewhere where it can grow. I think I'd read somewhere that if you took a baby great white shark and put them in a fish tank that was only 8 foot long, it would never get bigger than about 3 feet because it's not going to outgrow its environment. But if you go and find one out in the Atlantic Ocean or wherever they are out there, those suckers are massive. That's why they're called great white sharks, because they're big. They're 20 plus foot long. They're huge. But they don't get that big in an aquarium because they can't outgrow their environment.
You've said it recently. You said it a lot, but I heard you say it again recently. You are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with, something like that?
Yes. And, you've got to look at that. If you're wanting to be a better supervisor, well, you're going to have to hang out with other supervisors. You can't hang out with those underlings anymore, for lack of better terms. If you're wanting to become a millionaire, well, you need to go hang out with 5 other millionaires because you'll become the 6th.
Right.
You're wanting to become a top salesman, go hang out with other top salesmen. If you're wanting to become the top finance person, go hang out with the top finance people. If you're wanting to become the top heart surgeon, go hang out with the top heart surgeons. You've got to go find where they are and go hang out with them. Because they do, leadership is influence. It's that simple. And who you're influencing somebody every day, and somebody's influencing you. And if you don't believe it, they say something like, "Hey, I want to go on a vacation to Jamaica," and then go scroll on this bad boy now on social media. And I'll probably have Jamaica vacations. They popping up. And
Yeah.
hopefully I get a free one.
Oh, that's so true.
Nice.
Yeah. It's tough though.
Sitting on the beach, coconut drink.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Shades on. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm there. Let's go. Send it to me, Facebook. Send it to me.
I'm sure they will.
You think they will? I hope they do. Send me that. I want it free though. I'm not paid. I don't want to pay for it.
Okay, fair enough.
Put it on somebody else's dollar.
So to kind of combine the last few questions that we had, so your growth potential is infinite. depending on who you have around you, because who you have around you could actually be limiting you. That's something that I feel like a lot of leaders probably need to, take a look around themselves and see, am I surrounding myself with the best people, the people that are gonna help me get to where I want to be.
Right. And so it really brought back this one. I'd heard this story, phenomenal story, about who you hang out with is who you are. And this is kind of what I want to end it on. I think this will probably be a good segue into that. And so there was a farmer one day as he was out strolling around his property. He happened to find an egg. So he picked the egg up, brought it back to his chicken coop, put it in there. Well, when that bird hatched, that bird was an eagle. Farmer not thinking anything of it. He was like, if it gets too bad, I'll just have to, go release it or whatever. Well, that eagle that was raised by chickens. So, the mama chicken teaches it. So you scratch on the ground, you peck on the ground, you find your worms, your bugs, you eat the stuff that's put here, that's put there, all while the whole time that eagle's there, he would see they'd have this, another just massive eagle just flying around, and he would look up every day and go, golly, I wish I could be like that eagle. And so, he would try like the other chickens. He talked to his other chicken friends about it, and they would, we could fly, and, they'd flutter and do fly for just a little bit. And he was like, man, must be so great. And he'd see that eagle, and he'd look up and watch him. But every day, that eagle would go back to scratching the ground and pecking for bugs instead of doing what he was created to do, which was to go up. And when you look so you can do that with anybody or anything. I mean, how many that air quote tame wild big cats are there out there that people have as pets? That because you can tame, you become what you surround yourself with. And so, I mean, it's that simple. If that eagle that would have just only realized that, hey, I'm an eagle, I'm not supposed to be here, that barely flying, I'm supposed to soar. And when you look at, and the funny thing about eagles is, I don't know if you've ever noticed this or not, Caitlin, but you ever seen more than maybe two eagles at a time anywhere?
No, they're always like one
or two. You'll very rarely will you see three of them. Because they've got to cover a wide range of place in order to get what they need to survive. So you're going to have to hunt to find these other eagles. You're not going to just walk into the local pub and there's all the eagles.
Few and far between.
Chances are they're not in the pub. You're going to have to search for them. You're going to have to look for local groups. Look for, there's plenty of great groups. B&I groups. You've got Rotary clubs. I'm trying to think of other local groups, that have like-minded individuals. Their main job is to help you to grow as an individual for just about anything you want to do. So yeah, definitely who you surround yourself with is who you become.
Absolutely.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Ask the Coach. Caitlin, I really enjoyed today's conversation.
Me too. I think that our listeners are walking away with some solid practical takeaways that they can start using right away.
And before we go, we want to give a special shout out to our premier sponsor, Vicki with Hubbard Flooring Studios. Just like leadership starts with a strong foundation, so does your home or office.
Exactly. Remember, Vicki and her team don't just cover floors. They help you step into excellence, one plank, tile, or carpet at a time.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure that you do all the things. Like, subscribe, follow, so you don't miss out on the next one.
Yes, do all the things and share it too with a friend or a teammate who could use the encouragement. And we'd also love to hear your questions or topics that you want us to cover in future episodes. So let us know.
And remember, you don't need to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. So keep growing, keep leading,
and keep asking the right questions.
Until next time, stay inspired and connected, and
we'll see you on the next episode of the Clark Connection Podcast. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Connection Podcast, where my goal is to add value to you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. You can also connect with me via my website, coachaclark.com, or on all socials at coach_a_Clark. The links are in the description. Huge thanks to my sponsors, Wayne with 7K Metals, Bobbie with the Comfy Quest LLC, Andrew with Automate Integrate Professional Services, Joseph with Landscape King, and Chris and Jess with C&J Embroidery. We look forward to bringing you more great content. See you next week.